UFC Tampa is coming up this weekend, man, and today I'm about to break down and give my predictions for the whole entire card. Look, if you want to join my Discord, it'll be in the description. It's completely free. All my bets, all my picks will be there, as well as me breaking down some fighters and my live bets as well. And if you have any questions on any fighters or bets, you can definitely at me in there and I will answer them. So yeah, man, not going to waste any more time. Let's get right into it. First fight up, Josefine Knutsson taking on Piera Rodriguez. This is a bit of an interesting fight. Piera Rodriguez is a boxer, kind of wrestler, and she's okay. She has some heavy combinations that are pretty good. I'd give her the power advantage here. She's going to look to take down Josefine Knutsson because Josefine Knutsson is a former K1 Grand Prix fighter, kickboxer, so she's got a ton of experience on the feet, and she's very good on the feet, okay? She's not really a power puncher, but more of a volume, right? She can put a ton of volume on you. She has great pressure. She has great distance management as well. And she struggled a little bit with the wrestling, but to me, Piera Rodriguez, she doesn't have good enough wrestling to hold Josefine Knutsson down for long periods of time. And I think that, if this goes to the mat, Josefine Knutsson might be able to get a submission. A little cheeky play there. That would be a crazy odds on that. I might pull the trigger on that, but I will let you know. But look, man, on the feet, it's just not, I don't think it'll be close. Piera Rodriguez doesn't fight that well backing up. She's going to be backing up a lot. All right, Josefine Knutsson is a lady that can put on a ton of volume and really tire you out. Piera Rodriguez, I don't think she's got good enough cardio to deal with that. She is the more physical fighter here, and she might be able to get the takedowns. But overall, man, later on in the fight, I think Josefine Knutsson's going to take this fight over and completely dominate. I don't think she'll get a finish other than a submission, but that experience is really good. She's also at All Stars Training Center, which is in Sweden, where Khamzat Chimaev has trained, and there are tons of great prospects coming up from that gym, and I do expect her to have improved on the wrestling defense and probably be the better wrestler in my opinion. Offensively, she's a good wrestler, and she can take people down, but her bread and butter is the feet. I expect her to land tons of volume, overload Piera Rodriguez, and steal a decision pretty easily here. Maybe 29-28, but 30-27 is what I'm going to go with, and possibly she finds a submission on the ground. So yeah, Josefine Knutsson's going to be my first pick. Next up is going to be Ramon Taveras taking on Dangerous Davy Grant. And the Dangerous Davy Grant, his days are coming to an end, man. I can't lie. When I look at a guy like Davy Grant, he's just about to turn 39, all right? He is dangerous, obviously, hint the name. He's got pretty good power. He does have really good BJJ, which he could use here, but I really don't even think he'll shoot takedowns. He's coming off some surgeries, man. It's hard for me to see him winning this fight. Even stylistically, I think it's a very, very hard fight for him. Davy Grant, heavy combinations, unorthodox style where he'll blitz forward and throw a weird kick at the end of his combinations where Ramon Taveras can get caught. I think that's definitely a possibility. But overall, man, I think the speed is going to be a very, very big problem for Davy Grant here. I will be betting on Ramon Taveras. I think he'll win this fight. When I look at Ramon Taveras, man, he is a hell of a boxer, all right? He's extremely fast, and that's going to be the biggest difference here, the speed. He's got great, great counter shots. He's very, very elusive and tough to deal with. Now, Davy Grant, I think, can have success with leg kicks and kicks in general, but he's there to be countered. A guy like Taveras has very, very good counter striking. He, like I said, man, he's so fast, okay? He works all levels. He works the body. He'll throw a couple calf kicks, but he works the body, and then he goes up top. I think Davy Grant's going to get knocked the fuck out. And I know these odds are a little bit close, and they've switched kind of, and I do expect by the time the fight comes, Ramon Taveras is going to be an underdog, and I might double down on him because I know Davy Grant's tough. He's very durable, but he's 39, coming off some surgeries, hasn't fought in a year and a half almost. I think Taveras is going to take his head off, all right? Taveras coming off a win, split decision over Surrey City, who to me is a little bit better version at this point in time of Davy Grant. Surrey City's a long rangey kickboxer, and Taveras dropped him multiple times. He can find the counter shots. He's very elusive. He sets everything up. He, I think is a little bit underrated. People kind of shit on him, and he does miss weight, and I think he's going to smoke Davy Grant because Grant is so slow, okay? And especially at this point in his career, I think Ramon Taveras is going to brawl with him. I think he's going to go to the body. I think he's going to go up top, and I think he's going to sit Davy Grant down multiple times in this fight, and I think he'll finish this fight. I'm very confident that Ramon Taveras is going to get this done, and I love the number on him. Davy Grant, obviously, he's good. He can get a finish, but I do think that Ramon Taveras, when you're looking at the slicker guy, the faster guy, and a very, very good boxer, you're going to see Ramon Taveras light this dude up, okay? And that's truly what I believe. I hope he makes the weight because he's had some issues with that, but I'm going to be picking Ramon Taveras here. I think he smokes, like I said, smokes Davy Grant, so yeah. Next up is going to be Jamie Lynn Horth taking on Miranda Maverick, and this is going to be probably the easiest pick on the card for me. And I'm going to go with Miranda Maverick, man. Jamie Lynn Horth should have lost her last fight to Ivana Petrovic, a newcomer who is not good at all. And I expected Jamie Van Horth to easily win that fight. She didn't. She lost the fight and got a split decision win because it was in Edmonton, Canada, and she is Canadian. She's taken on a much, much better fighter, a much stronger grappler, and Ivana Petrovic was able to get her down multiple times. I don't see a way that Jamie Van Horth wins this fight. I think she gets smoked, and short notice, she's going to get destroyed by Miranda Maverick. So pretty easy and straightforward pick for me. I'm going to be going with the -600 favorite Miranda Maverick. The next fight up is going to be Miles Johns taking on Felipe Lima. A very, very interesting fight here. But I'm going to pick Felipe Lima. When you look at Miles Johns, he is a counter striker, all right? He has the wrestling background, but he doesn't do it often. And even if this goes to the ground, I expect Felipe Lima to, neutralize it, possibly reverse position, or possibly get a choke here. But for the most part, I think this fight will be on the feet, okay? Miles John, if you let him dictate the pace of fights, he does a very, very good job, okay? He loves to sit at range, wait for you to come in and counter with big, heavy shots, and he does that at a great pace. He can really do that. And definitely a possibility that he can knock Felipe Lima out for sure. I think the safer pick is Felipe Lima, and I am going to pick him to win this fight, and I'll tell you why. Felipe Lima is a guy, I don't really think he's going to let Miles Johns set the pace of this fight. I think Felipe Lima is a guy who is very aggressive. He's going to come forward. He's got great boxing. I would give the power to Miles Johns, but Felipe Lima is a guy who can very much hurt you, okay? He's extremely fast. He has a great submission game, great wrestling as well. And on the feet, he mixes up his strikes well. Leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks, flying knees. Boxing is really good on this guy. And I do think if he pushes the pace here, we've seen Miles Johns have issues, okay? John Castaneda goes out there and beats him in the third round, destroyed him. And Miles Johns kind of quit. And I definitely think there's possibilities early on in this fight for Miles John to crack Felipe Lima because I do worry about his defense. It's not the best. But later on as this fight goes, man, Felipe Lima can take it over because he pushes a very high pace and he has the cardio to do so. Another guy who's also at All Stars Training Center, so, he's getting good coaching, getting good reps over there versus great prospects. So, I do expect him to win this fight. A very impressive showing where he went out there, up a weight class, short notice, and beat a guy like Muhammad Naimov, who is, right outside the top 15. Not right outside, but the 30 to 20 range in the featherweight division. Who's a strong grappler. He neutralized some of that and had a lot of success in that fight and ended up getting a rear naked choke. That's his best submission, the rear naked choke. He gets in that position a lot, takes your back often, and he could definitely do that to Johns in this fight. But I do see that more towards the end of the fight. I do think, like I said, if you let Miles Johns control the pace where he's on the outside and you are coming in recklessly, not putting pressure on him and being aggressive, he's going to crack you. And he's got chances and opportunities in this fight to knock Felipe Lima out. But I do think later on, man, Felipe Lima, like I said, he pushes that pace. I don't think Johns is going to be ready for it. I don't think I'm a fan of the number of -240 because I do think that Miles Johns is a good fighter and very capable of winning this fight. I kind of wonder what the game plan for him coming into this is because the game plan for Felipe Lima should be easy, all right? Don't let John set the pace and come forward and put a lot of pressure on him. Make him work, all right? And I think that's what he's going to do. He can land more volume in this fight. He loves to rip the body, and his boxing is good, okay? He's aggressive. His flying knees are very good too. And we've seen, I don't want to reference this, but Mario Bautista knocked Miles Johns out with a flying knee possibility. We see that in this fight. But overall, man, the guy that can push that pace, man, Felipe Lima, he really, really is a guy to look out for in this division, but he's got to get through Miles Johns, and Miles Johns is not going to be an easy out, okay? So for me, I'll probably stay away from this fight, but I'm going to pick Felipe Lima, and I do not like the odds, but Lima is going to be the pick for this fight. Next fight on the card is going to be Fernando Padilla taking on Sean Woodson. A very, very fun and interesting fight. Both these guys, 1 and 2, are the tallest featherweights in the division, so very interesting. Now, when you look at Sean Woodson, very technical boxer, okay? He is a good boxer. I will give him that. And I do like Sean Woodson a lot. He puts together great combinations. And he, if you're coming in, he's going to hit you, okay? He can hit you every time. He sets the shots up right. He's good step-in knees, brick wall takedown defense. Very hard to take this dude down. But, I have some issues with Sean Woodson. I think he's faded a couple times in these fights. Now, I will go back to the fight with Charles Jourdain where he dominated that fight, okay? And I know that was a split decision. That's ridiculous because he really did go out there and dominate Charles Jourdain. Now he's going up against a guy who can kind of match the stature of him. And you saw a guy like Caceres, who is pretty aggressive, find the mark on Woodson. And I do think that Padilla can do that as well, okay? Fernando Padilla is a very dangerous fighter, all right? He's coming in there to win and finish you, okay? And I don't know if Woodson's able to do that. And I don't know if Woodson can back Fernando Padilla up because Padilla's coming out to finish the fight. Whether you like it or not, he's very aggressive, loves to pressure, and that's what I think is going to change this fight. I'm going to be picking Fernando Padilla to win here. I think the clinch is a really, really important part of this fight, and I think Padilla excels at the clinch, okay? He's got a very, very good clinch game. He's got good submissions to the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if Woodson goes to take down Padilla. I would not be surprised whatsoever. I think Woodson holds the edge in wrestling, but Padilla is very good defensive submissions, where if you're taking him down, he can wrap you up as well as Woodson. I think for the most part, this fight takes place on the feet, and Woodson probably is going to find the mark a couple of times, but, Padilla's a guy who eats the shots. He'll keep coming forward. He's got a nasty check hook. You saw a guy like Luis Aldana land check hook on Woodson that pretty much put him out, and Aldana's just out of the UFC now, but just an idiot. He didn't finish the fight, and he definitely could have and hurt him again, and I definitely think that Fernando Padilla's got that kind of power. I like, he holds the edge in aggressiveness, athleticism in this fight, and power as well. And I do think he has opportunities to get a finish here. He's a very, very chaotic fighter. He's pretty technical, but when it gets to that clinch, I think he can land elbows and land knees. It's a very interesting fight and a fight that I probably will stay away from because both these guys have not faced a stature of each other, right? So it's very interesting. But I'm going to go with the younger guy, Padilla. I know he lost to Kyle Nelson, but he didn't look himself in that fight. And the face on Padilla that I saw in his last fight, man, he just looked vicious. He just looked for that finish, and I love that. That's what you got to do against a guy like Sean Woodson. You can't give him range and space to do work, and Padilla's not going to do that. He's going to come forward. He's going to land that check hook. He's got a good jab. And I do think that Padilla might be able to find a finish here. I'm going to be picking Fernando Padilla via a finish. So yeah, man, very interesting fight though. I could definitely see it going either way. Next up is going to be Drakkar Klose taking on Joel Alvarez. I'm a very, very big fan of Joel Alvarez's game. And Drakkar Klose, on the other hand, he's 36 years old. He's had a lot of injuries in his career, but he's good, okay? He's very game, and I don't like this line whatsoever. I think this should be a little bit of a closer fight, and if Alvarez goes out there and smokes him, I guess I eat my words, but I just don't see that happening, okay? Joel Alvarez is a finisher, all right? He's got great submissions, and he'll let you take him to the ground, and that's, a possibility here because Drakkar Klose is a wrestler. And Joel Alvarez doesn't really defend takedowns. He'll let you take him down because he's so nasty off his back. He's so offensive with the submissions, and you got to be careful, man. And I know Drakkar Klose is a good wrestler, but, man, I can't help to see him taking down Joel Alvarez and Joel Alvarez wrapping him up, all right? And when it gets to the fight on the feet, Joel Alvarez is better at range. He's much, much faster, in my opinion. He's hard. He hits much harder. He's got good kicks. He's aggressive. I don't think he's the most technical striker. And I do think Klose might have the better boxing, the hooks, and he's definitely got the better clinch game from Klose. And that's where I think this can give some problems to Joel Alvarez in that clinch because Drakkar Klose is strong in the clinch. He's got a good ability to hold you. He can elbow you. He can knee you there. And I think we'll see Klose, have some success in that clinch and in this fight. And honestly, I don't think that Joel Alvarez should be minus 425. I like Joel, and he's a good fighter. But, man, I can't help to see that Drakkar Klose has a chance to win this fight. I think he definitely does, and we'll see what happens. But I do think that if this fight hits the mat, there's going to be so much to worry about for Drakkar Klose that I think that, Joel Alvarez might be able to wrap him up in a submission, a triangle, an arm bar, anything off his back, man. He is so extremely dangerous, and when it's on the feet at range, the better guy is going to be Alvarez, okay? He goes out there, destroys Elvis Brenner. He had a little bit of trouble with Mark Jacasey, but ended up getting a finish in that fight via a Darce choke. That's what you got to be worried about too. If you shoot a takedown, he's going to wrap you up immediately. So it's a hard matchup for Klose, but I do think his most success will be in the clinch, and a possibility that he could go out there and steal a round easily here and maybe win this fight. But I do think at range and if Drakkar Klose shoots a takedown, man, I think that Joel Alvarez will get the submission. So I will be picking Joel Alvarez. So yeah. Next up is going to be Ottman Azaitar taking on Michael Johnson. Now Michael Johnson is 38 years old, okay? And I was looking at Azaitar to maybe come in and win this fight. All right, but I look at Michael Johnson, he's still got it, man. And I think the biggest issue for Azaitar in this fight is the speed of Johnson. Now, yes, Ottman Azaitar is a guy who can go out there and catch Michael Johnson. I do believe that, and that's why I'll probably be hedging this fight. You know, I'll probably be hitting Ottman Azaitar KO and finding something else that I like with Michael Johnson. But, man, I can't help but notice the speed on Johnson. He's much, much faster than a guy like Ottman Azaitar. Ottman Azaitar is powerful, okay? He does use some good feints, but he sucks, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. He is not a good fighter by any means. He got stiffened out by Matt Frivola. He's coming off another loss I cannot remember. And he had some success in the UFC. 2 early knockouts, I believe, in his first 2 fights. And then he's lost 2 in a row via knockout. And I think Michael Johnson can get a knockout. I think he can wrestle Ottman Azaitar as well. He has good wrestling. He has great boxing, straight shots, and he can move in and out very fast. And that's going to cause a lot of problems to Azaitar because he is flat-footed. Cement feet is what I like to call these guys. And he is the definition of cement feet. He can extend his combos and land something. And you got to worry about the Michael Johnson durability. He's old. He's been knocked out a lot. But, man, I can't help but notice that Michael Johnson is much more skillful, and much faster. So he should get this one done. I'll probably hedge this bet. Like I said, I'll find something for Johnson, but Ottman Azaitar KO. But I can't help but seeing, like I said, Michael Johnson's going to smoke this dude probably because he's way more skilled and way faster, way better ability, to move in and out of that pocket. And I know a loss over Jamie Malarkey is very concerning, but the last couple of fights that Johnson has had, he's looked fantastic. Absolutely destroyed Darius Flowers, beat him easily, and I'd probably pick a guy like Darius Flowers to beat Ottman Azaitar. I don't think Azaitar is good at all. He actually sucks. This will probably be his last fight in the UFC unless he can get a highlight reel finish, which is a possibility because he does have good power. But I think Johnson's way too fast, and I think he'll mix in the wrestling. I think he'll win this fight pretty easily. So I am going to be going with Michael Johnson to win this. Next fight on the card is going to be Tokkos taking on Navajo Stirling. Now look, man, Tokkos, I think how you say his name, he shouldn't be here, all right? He's a very, mediocre light heavyweight. And while I don't think Navajo Stirling has proven a lot, he hasn't fought any type of grapplers, and this will be the best grappler he's going to face. He is at City Kickboxing, and those guys tend to have really good takedown defense. On the feet, it's going to be a complete mismatch, man. Stirling, I don't even know if I'd call it mediocre striking. His striking sucks. He got smoked. He got smoked by Mingyang Zhang, had no big moments in that fight, and got brutalized in that fight. Now he's going up against a guy like Navajo Stirling, who is much more technical than Mingyang Zhang, probably not as aggressive and powerful, but he's a former kickboxer. He's done a lot of kickboxing fights in New Zealand. And he should win this fight, all right? He's minus 800, and I don't think he should be this high of a favorite because we haven't seen enough of his grappling, but I do expect him to get this one done. You can tell by the guy. He's a big dude. He's about 6'4". He's very skilled. He's got good kicks, very good combinations. He'll probably find a KO in this fight. Tokkos is a little bit, he's kind of tough. But he does have a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Maybe something to take into note here, but it should be a relatively easy fight for Navajo Stirling. I expect him to get the KO here, probably a round 1 KO. So I'm going to go with a round 1 KO for Navajo Stirling. Next up is going to be Adrian Yanez taking on Daniel Marcos. A very, very good fight that I had a hard time picking, but I am going to go with the Yanez side, okay? And I think it's the speed that can make the difference in this fight. Because when I look at a guy like Marcos, very good kickboxer. He can do it all. He works all levels, leg kicks, body shots, head shots. But I don't think there's enough thud behind his shots, okay? And there's power behind Yanez's shots, a lot of it. And he's very fast. And I think if he mixes the body shots in, which is going to be important because a guy like Marcos, he's gonna block the headshots. All right, he's very, very good defense. And it's going to be on Yanez to mix up the combinations, all right? And I think if he does that, he can find a finish possibly. And, man, it's a tough fight, though, because Marcos, he is good, okay? Now, the leg kick defense is definitely a problem when you're talking about a guy like Yanez. He's been finished with leg kicks, but I'm going to be honest, man. That's more on Jonathan Martinez being the best leg kicker of all time because I went back to that fight and I rewatched it, and Yanez, his shin was turned inward every single time. And Jonathan Martinez just kept kicking it, okay? He didn't care about it. Almost similar to Jan Blachowicz, just kicking the shin and not, regarding anything. He was just doing that to Yanez. Because Yanez, his shin was turned inwards, like, automatically, because knowing the leg kicks are coming. So Martinez was going pretty much shin to shin with Yanez and just killing that. And I do think that, he's a boxer. He's got that heavy stance. Marcos can chip at it, but I don't think he's got enough thud behind it like Martinez does. So I do think that Yanez will win the better exchanges here and land the more powerful shots. So I am going to be picking him to win this fight via decision. Next fight up is going to be Dustin Jacoby taking on Vitor Petrino. This fight is actually really easy for me to pick because I'm going to go Vitor Petrino, okay? I think he's got multiple ways to win this fight, and that's why I think it's important. I mean, when you look at the guy, he is huge, all right? I mean, this guy could easily be a heavyweight. I mean, I think he's probably 6'2", maybe. But look at him, man. He is built like a truck, all right? And yes, I'm going to sit here and say that Jacoby is the better striker. He is the better striker. He can land volume on you. He does a really good job at that. And there's probably nobody that can outland Dustin Jacoby because, he did it to Khalil Roundtree. He's done it in pretty much every single one of his fights. But the problem with Dustin Jacoby is evident, all right? The dude, although he's been knocked out only once in the UFC, he's gotten dropped a lot. And Vitor Petrino packs a punch, man. You got to see these guys after they get hit by Vitor Petrino. Just one time, even just a jab, it is, devastating. The guy can absolutely crack. He's got a nasty, nasty left hook that I've seen Alonzo Menefield dropped Dustin Jacoby with. And Alonzo Menefield hurt Jacoby like 4 times in that fight, and that's why he won. All right, because Jacoby was lighting him up on the feet, but Alonzo Menefield would just hit him with the shot, and Jacoby just goes down. And I think Vitor Petrino has that kind of power, as well as even if he's getting pieced up on the feet, man, I just don't see Jacoby with the knockout ability anymore, okay? And he can overwhelm you with volume, but I don't think he can finish Vitor Petrino, man. Vitor Petrino, I've been seeing him get hit with shots, and he doesn't acknowledge it. He just keeps walking forward. He doesn't care about it. So I really do think Vitor Petrino is going to come out here and destroy Dustin Jacoby. And if he's getting pieced up, he can go to the wrestling, right? There's a backup plan because honestly, I do think he can knock out Jacoby for sure. Jacoby's there to be hit, and he does leave his guard down at times. And if you get hit by Petrino, in my eyes, I think he hits harder than Menefield. So you're giving me a guy who's old coming off a knockout versus a young guy that's coming off a loss to Anthony Smith, but has proven his skill set is undeniable, all right? He has a very, very good skill set where he can clinch you, take you down, and he is extremely strong. He doesn't have the best wrestling technique, but he has submissions on the ground. He can win this fight on the feet with the knockout or submission on the ground. I think when there's multiple ways that he can win this fight, it's going to be a very, very easy pick for me. And I just don't see it from Jacoby, man. Like I said, I don't think his takedown defense is good enough to get Petrino off of him, and I don't think he can hurt Petrino. He can win this fight by a decision, sure, but I don't think it's going to happen because I think if Petrino just hits him once or twice, we're going to see Jacoby go down and get hurt because the guy, like I said, man, Alonzo Menefield, as well as Dominic Reyes, just touch him once and he goes to sleep, all right? And I don't know how Khalil Roundtree wasn't able to do it. Maybe he just doesn't hit that hard. But Vitor Petrino can do it. He is huge, and he packs a punch. He has good technique on his boxing. He's not the better boxer, though. He doesn't have the better footwork. And I do think Jacoby will be able to land shots. Like I said, man, I don't even think he can hurt the guy. You just look at Vitor Petrino. I mean, he was getting hit with overhands, and I know it's by Marcin Parakniu. Modestas Bukauskas was hitting him with some good shots. I would put those guys power-wise with the guy like Jacoby. So, and he was just smiling it off, all right? And he kind of reminds me in the sense of like a Cyril Gane, where he doesn't look like he takes it serious enough, but he has all the skills to be fantastic, a fantastic fighter. And I do think he's going to win this fight via submission or a knockout. So I will be picking Vitor Petrino, probably betting on him with a parlay piece because it's hard for me to see him losing this fight because I think he has multiple ways to win it. So I will be going with Vitor Petrino. Next fight up is going to be Bruno Silva taking on Manel Kape. Manel Kape is back. And after a very weird decision over Muhammad Mokaev, but he's taken on Bruno Silva, who was on a 4-fight finish streak. Okay, so a very, very impressive streak for Bruno Silva. You go back to the last fight. A little bit iffy, man. Cody Durden was hitting him with some bombs and actually had him hurt before he found the finish on Durden. And Bruno Silva tends to do that, okay? He's a little bit of a counter striker, I want to say. And, it's not the easiest to counter a guy like Manel Kape, okay? When Manel Kape is on, I firmly believe that he is a top 3 striker at flyweight, a top 2 striker at flyweight, because he really is. I mean, this guy, he's dropped like everybody. He's a ton of KOs, okay? And I think there's possibility for a KO here. I don't see this fight going the distance, honestly, unless it's a Bruno Silva decision. I think Kape's going to finish him. When you see a motivated Manel Kape, a guy that's flowing, and a Manel Kape that's not doing stupid shit in the octagon, it's hard to beat him, okay? And I do think that he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I do think he's going to smoke Bruno Silva in this fight. I wouldn't lay the bet on minus 340 money line, but I am looking at a KO prop, which is actually plus 250, where both guys haven't been finished, but Manel Kape has dropped a ton of people and has a ton of KOs, and he doesn't really get a lot of decision wins. So I am looking at the Manel Kape KO. There's chances that Bruno Silva could KO Kape, but I see Kape having a much, much higher chance, okay? Because while Bruno Silva is fast and probably, I don't know if he's more powerful, but has good power, Kape is a better striker for sure. Now, Bruno Silva has a good submission game. He has pretty good wrestling. He doesn't use it enough for me to go out and say, oh, he's going to go down and take Manel Kape down all these times. Manel Kape has fast hips, and he showed a little bit too much patience, and I think he was too worried about the Muhammad Mokaev takedowns. I don't think he's going to be too worried about the takedowns coming from Bruno Silva. I think if he does shoot takedowns, Bruno Silva, he's going to give himself a much better chance to win this fight. Because like I said, man, on the feet, I don't think there's a lot of guys that can compete with Manel Kape. You go back to that Felipe Dos Santos fight where Dos Santos had kind of that success of the Diego Lopez success versus Evloev. And you go back and watch, and Kape just destroyed him, all right? He dropped him multiple times. And Kape is a very, very good striker, and he's willing to stand there, and he knows he can counter you. And I think that he's going to be able to land way more volume than Bruno Silva, and I think he's going to get this fight finished. I think he will knock out Bruno Silva. So I will be going with Manel Kape via a KO. I probably will bet on that as well because this guy, he's counter-striking, his striking in general. He is the fastest guy at flyweight. He's so fast, man. So I do think he is going to have a chip on his shoulder, and I do think he's going to come out here and knock out Bruno Silva. The next fight is going to be Cub Swanson taking on Billy Q. A very, very interesting fight stylistically because you look at Billy Q, he got smoked by Youssef Zalal, a guy who does have good footwork and was able to evade Billy Q and finish him early, okay? Because Billy Q is a guy who not really looking to dominate the first part of the fight. He's looking to beat you in the second half where you gas out. And this is a fight where I do think he can do that. Now, Cub Swanson is 41 years old. He does have that style of the good footwork, the flashy elusiveness. And he can try to mimic that Youssef Zalal style, but I don't think it's going to work for him. I think he's too slow. And Billy Q doesn't really do a good job cutting off the cage. Billy Q isn't the more technical guy. Billy Q doesn't hit harder. And he has been chinned, and he can get chinned by Cub Swanson. Look, Cub Swanson, I thought he won his last fight versus Andre Fili. I thought he lost the fight before to Hakeem Dawodu. But this fight, man, I think Billy Q can put it on him. I've seen Cub get tired, and Billy Q is a guy who can break you down, okay? You saw him break Alexander Hernandez. You saw him have a lot of success later on in the fight versus Damon Jackson. And I don't think at this point in Cub Swanson's career, he's got the ability to keep up with that kind of pace. And there's obviously finishing ability for Cub Swanson. And when you look at Cub, he does have a good guillotine, and he does have good takedown defense. I mean, he can be taken down, and Billy Q probably will get him down, but Cub can snatch that neck up. There's so many instances in this fight where I can see both guys winning, but I'm going to trust the guy who can go longer and can really push a pace in his hometown, I guess, where he trains. So I am going to be going with Billy Q. an interesting fight where I can see Cub getting a finish early on, but I do think, like I said, man, Billy Q can push that pace, and I do think Cub's a guy he can do that too. So I am going to be picking Billy Q to win this fight via a third round finish. Next up is the main event, Colby Covington taking on Joaquin Buckley. Man, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going with Colby Covington. I'm dead serious. I think he's going to win this fight, all right? I've been, criticizing Joaquin Buckley's skill set forever, okay? I don't think he's good enough, okay? And now he's going up against a guy like Colby Covington, who is an outstanding wrestler with outstanding pace, with tons of 5-round experience. And, last time out, I think Leon gave Colby a lot of problems with the feinting, and I think that's what really was made Colby hesitant, as well as, he broke his foot in the first, minute of the fight, so that's obviously a problem as well. But, man, Colby, he does really, really good on the fence with takedowns, okay? And he wears you out, man. I have seen Joaquin Buckley get taken down on the fence multiple times. Now, I know Joaquin Buckley's a great athlete. He's very powerful, and I do think if he wins this fight, it's going to be by a KO. But my problem with Joaquin Buckley is I just don't think he's that good, and I think he's overrated. Like I said, I've seen people take him down on the fence. Abdul Razak Al Hassan took him down on the fence multiple times. Albert Duraev was able to get him down on the fence. And if you find yourself on the fence with Colby Covington, he's going to take you down. I know Joaquin Buckley's big and strong. Covington is so good on the fence, and I think he's going to be able to get Joaquin Buckley there. Now, look, if Colby Covington fights like he did against Leon Edwards, I will sit here and eat my words, okay? But I'm expecting a more motivated Colby to come out, and a Colby that is there to take risks. Because when he took risks in that Leon Edwards fight, he had success, okay? And if he would have gone out there and mimicked the style that Bilal was able to mimic, he would have destroyed Leon Edwards. Are we serious? He would have killed him. But he didn't do that. He was tentative and, had that injury, as well as the feinting of Leon was giving him a lot of problems. Now, Joaquin Buckley has pretty good boxing. He's got weird footwork, and he likes to jump into his shots, which generate a lot of power. But I don't think he should jump into his shots versus a guy like Colby, because Colby's going to take him down off that. Now, Buckley's a good wrestler in his own part. We haven't seen him really, really tested with the wrestling, other than the guys like I mentioned. But he does have good offensive wrestling, decent offensive wrestling, and I have seen him sprawl. He does have great sprawls, but I think when this fight gets to that fence, I think that's what makes this different, because like I said, man, when Colby gets you on the fence, he can take anybody down, and he can control you and wear you down. And I know this is a hot take, but I'm going with Colby to win, okay? I think he's going to win a decision here. I know Buckley has been on a great win streak. He got a finish over Wonder Boy where he was losing that fight. He was on his way to losing to Wonder Boy. And look, I picked Buckley to win that fight, but I think he was on his way to losing, all right? And he was getting tagged with some big shots, and this isn't a similar fight to Wonder Boy whatsoever. And if Joaquin Buckley can keep himself from off the fence, he will have a lot of success here. And another thing about Joaquin Buckley, I really don't trust in his counter shot ability, okay? When you look at a guy like Leon Edwards, I'm not going to say Leon Edwards hits hard, okay? But what he can do is evade shots, step back, and crack you with a shot. Now, Joaquin Buckley doesn't really do that, okay? Joaquin Buckley is a guy who just swings hooks recklessly, and if one hits you, you're probably going down, all right? And he's had a lot of success at welterweight, but I think that's the biggest, going to play big dividends if he doesn't come out there and feint. If he doesn't come out there and look for counters against Colby, which he won't, because Leon Edwards, at the end of the day, I've shit on Leon all the time, and I did know that Bilal was going to beat him, obviously. But Leon does have good counter striking, and he really showed that versus Colby and made Colby think about, going. And Colby can't do that here. He's got to take risks. He's heard the criticism, and if Colby comes out like normal Colby, he's going to destroy Joaquin Buckley, right? And that's what people are banking on, that he won't come out like normal Colby. And it's definitely a possibility. If he doesn't come out like that, like I said, Joaquin Buckley will win this fight. We haven't seen the 5-round experience from Buckley, and I do think he's got good cardio, but you have to have tremendous cardio versus Colby Covington, okay? And I think if Colby takes chances, gets going early, he's going to destroy Buckley, all right? And I know it might be a hot take, man, but I've talked about and been open about my opinions on Joaquin Buckley, and I don't think he's that good of a fighter, all right? Simple as that. I could eat my words. Look, I could, but I'm trusting a former title challenger, a guy with a very good gas tank, a guy with some of the best fence grappling of all time, and one of the better grapplers we've ever seen at welterweight, to get this one done. I think he's going to put a pace on Buckley that he cannot keep up with. And towards the end of the fight, we'll see Buckley break down. And this is definitely a hot take, man. I've seen people all over Joaquin Buckley. You're never going to see me betting a Joaquin Buckley minus 275 against a former title challenger and a top 10 guy. So, yeah, man, I think Colby's going to break him. I do. Like I said, exploding into those shots can get you taken down. And he is the stronger, more athletic guy, but that's going to fade during the fight. We've seen Colby struggle with guys that like to kick the legs. Buckley doesn't do that much. He is the southpaw matchup here, which is good for kicking legs. And I do think if he takes that approach, he will have success to slow Colby down. But man, I can't imagine that Colby's going to come in here and do the same shit he did versus Leon, all right? And I think it was more of the Leon being able to counter Colby when Colby went and stepping back and taking the left hand and landed it on Covington. But if you go back to that fight and you look at when Colby was kind of taking it to Leon, he had success, and he can do that versus anybody. And another reason, like I said, I don't believe in the counter-striking of a guy like Joaquin Buckley. I don't think he's a good enough counter-striker to find a shot on Covington and put him out. So that's what I think about this fight. I am going to be picking Colby Covington. I'll probably be betting on him too because he's plus 235. But man, I can't put money on 275 Buckley. I just don't think he's good enough. And it's a bit of an interesting fight for sure. I never saw this fight coming. It's kind of a little bit short notice, but Buckley was already prepared. We'll see what Covington looks like, man. But I am going to be picking Colby Covington to win this fight. So yeah, man, that's going to do it for me. I hope y'all boys enjoyed. And I know people have been asking about a graphic. Like, I don't know how to do all that, man. I can't lie. So like with the tail of the tape and stuff, I don't really know how to do that. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. But yeah, man, that's going to do it for me. I hope y'all boys enjoyed, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.